Hello and welcome to Loading Gauge. My name's Lucy and in this video we're doing something a little bit different. I'm building a layout in TT120. Wait, let's rewind to New Year's Eve. I'm having a quiet night in, a few drinks with my family, and at the same time chatting with my train friends in our WhatsApp group, as you do. The conversation quickly turned to TT120, and after a few more whiskies, I made a purchase under what can only be described as peer pressure. A couple of days later, a rather large box arrived, and that was that. I was committed. I salvaged some baseboards from a previous 00 gauge project, and after sanding down the tops, I laid some 1.5mm cork. I marked everything out with a pen, brushed on PVA glue, laid the cork and weighed it down while it dried. I wanted a stream, or maybe a river, for the railway to cross, so out came the multi-tool. I cut out the marked section, prised the top out, then marked and cut the bracing underneath. Once that was done, I screwed and glued the top back onto the baseboards to keep everything structurally sound. For the scenery, I marked out some polystyrene and I used my hot wire cutter to trim it to shape. I repeated this, cutting pieces at an angle to form the riverbanks, and then added another layer to build up height. At this point, my hot wire pinged off, so I'm using the rod to cut the polystyrene instead. Not ideal, but I was keen to crack on. Onto the track. I started by removing the springs from the picot points. That's because I want to use slow action point motors. To do this, open out the clips on top of the turnout, flip it over, and the plate underneath releases enough to prise out the spring. Then reassemble and push the clips back in. I cut the track to length using Xuron cutters, filed the rail ends and removed the end sleepers where needed. I always test fit everything and trim the last few sleepers where straight track meets turnouts. Rail joiners are carefully slid into position using the cutters. These little 3D printed tools help set the platforms to the correct distance from the rails. Very handy. I cut the track to suit and use a Mark II coach as a guide to make sure there's enough clearance beyond the point for the loco. Rail joiners on, drop it into place and repeat for the other line. So now you can see where I'm at with the track work. There are a couple of tweaks still to make, but the overall plan is coming together nicely. You can also see the hole where the trains will disappear off scene into the fiddle yard. Next up, point motors. I mark out the hole positions with the point in both the open and closed positions, and also mark where the frog wires need to go. Once marked, I drill the frog wire holes, cut away the cork underlay with a scalpel, and then drill the hole for the motor rod. The frog wires get pushed through, the point is refitted, and I use the torch on my phone shining up through the baseboard to double check alignment with the switching of the turnout. For motors, I've gone with tortoise because I'm old school. I bend the actuating wire using a template as a guide. Feed it through the adjuster and secure it into the motor. With the motor centred, I thread it up through the baseboard and into the tie bar. Once I'm happy with the alignment, it's screwed into place underneath. Where track crosses a baseboard joint, I've used Model Tech rail aligners to keep everything spot on. Right, time for a brew. And a quick shout out to Neil from the Little Layout Company. Thanks for the mug, Neil. Next, I decided to build a retaining wall along part of the back seam. This is made from 40 thou plasticard with a stone effect plasticard on the front, glued together using Humbrol liquid poly. For the coping stones, I've used evergreen 3.2mm C-channel, cutting the ends at 45 degrees. A quick test fit, bob on. I added small packing pieces to keep everything square and glued it all into place. I've also moved the position of this point slightly to allow for longer trays to fit in the siding. Same process as before. At the fiddle yard end, I wanted a bridge to hide the hole in the back seam. I couldn't find anything suitable online, so scratch building it was. I started with the basic shape in plasticard. Scratch building isn't really my strong point, but it should do the job. Using the first side as a template, I cut the others, tidied up the edges and glued everything together. Angled styrene pieces help to keep the correct shape and make it stronger too. Stonework was added with plenty of liquid poly. The backside won't be seen, so let's call that characterful. And yes, even though this bit will be buried by scenery, my OCD wouldn't let me leave it unfinished. For the ironwork, I added some styrene C-channel with 40 thou plasticard above. I then decided the bridge was a bit too long. I wanted the road to curve as it exits towards the back seam, So out came the Dremel with a 30mm cutting disc. A quick file, job done. To bulk out the walls, I laminated extra plasticard on the inside, added 5mm foam board for the road base and finished the interior stonework. Coping stones were added on top, scored with a razor saw, and the ironwork finished with a 1.5mm C-channel and flat strip. And I think that's a good place to leave it for today's episode. So if you've enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe for more TT120 progress. And I haven't forgotten about Buxton, that is still in development. Thanks for watching, see you next time.